Welcome to the Unlocking Senior Resources podcast by Leave the Key. I'm Larry Wagner, and I've spent 30 years working with seniors where I was a certified senior advisor and the last 15 years in the home buying industry as a certified senior transition specialist, where I specialize in dealing with seniors going through a transition in their lives. This podcast is for seniors, those with seniors they love, and people who work in the senior community. In each episode, we bring on a guest who works to improve the lives of seniors. This podcast is your key to unlocking senior resources. Welcome. Today we're here with Renata Landskind and Terence Ricaforte. Did I pronounce that correctly?
Yes.
Yes, you did.
Wow. Okay. I didn't think I was going to get that. And you are both attorneys, and you're a couple. You're a couple of attorneys. There you go.
Yes.
So, what I always ask everybody when we start is, how did you guys become attorneys? What brought you down the path of law?
Fourth grade.
Fourth grade. Okay, and you? There you go.
Well, one day I said I want to be an attorney.
There you go.
And I just never changed my mind. I was always interested in the law. I was always interested in government.
Right.
And I just went for it and did it. Never changed my mind, never stopped, and always enjoyed it.
That's so funny. Fourth grade.
Mm.
When I was 8, I knew what I wanted to do. When I came out of college, I did exactly that. So some people know, and most people aren't so fortunate. Most people aren't so fortunate. You said you were in it longer. Now I know why, since you're in fourth grade. Okay. And Terence,
It's not made up, but it's also fourth grade. I did a project as Teddy Roosevelt project, and then I said I also want to be either a lawyer or a politician.
Uh-huh.
Ended up still have that project.
You just have that project. There you go.
It's like a little one of those biography things, right? So then I went to in high school. I went to Young Lawyers in Washington D.C. Seniors from 50 states. We all bunked and not bunked. We stayed in a hotel. Went to the Supreme Court. Did some mock trials. Then I went to college. Then after college, I worked for 2 years. Not really. No, about a year. Then I went to law school at night, and I worked full-time first for New York City Corp Counsel, and then Manhattan DA's office as a paralegal. I was definitely going to be a prosecutor.
Okay.
Where? Well, I thought I was going to be the prosecutor at an ADA for Manhattan because I was the starting shortstop for the softball team.
The real important skill set for that job.
Very important skill set. I had all the bureau chiefs give me recommendations.
Right.
But Manhattan doesn't give offers out until June. I had interviewed with a number of the prosecutor's offices across the nation, and then Miami gave me an offer in April, and I snatched that up real quick. I went down to Miami, took the bar there, nice and sunny. But my family is from New York, and no one was coming down there. Wasn't making much money, but it was kind of hard doing bizarro holidays because I couldn't be here for Christmas or Easter, or because it was just too expensive to fly. Yeah. So I'd come off on off weekends, and then on vacation one week, I took the New York and New Jersey bar, and then I passed it. And then once I passed it, I had to come home. My mom was like, "It's time to come home," right? Basically, but a lot of fun down there, a lot of experience. A lot of trial experience. Cool. At most, I would say, I can confidently say 99.9% of most lawyers don't have trial experience.
Oh, absolutely not.
I have a lot of trial experience, jury trial experience, picking juries, countless bench trials. And then when I came back north, was good advice given to me because I always would saddle up to the criminal defense attorneys and say, "Hey, you got a job lined up for me?" Yeah. And they say, "Terry, crime does not pay anymore. It's not the 70s or 80s. So I said, "Well, what should I do?" They said, "Do something guaranteed, death and taxes." What is that in the law? Wills, trusts, and estates. Yeah. Right. So when I came back north, just my future wife's firm, where she was the partner eventually, and to be my boss, they were looking for an estate litigator. Right. Because they had a will contest or something along those lines. And then when I got hired, Renata interviewed me, and there was something a little. I was like, I have this feeling before somebody interviews me, right? It was like a nervous feeling.
He liked me.
I didn't know it. And then,
butterflies in the stomach.
A little bit.
And then I was first chair because I had the trial experience. She was second chair. And then I think
Because I knew the law.
because you knew the law.
Right.
And
See, it's the face.
I did
you're
my
you're the
thing.
brains, right?
And then she, with the law, actually the law that you came up with, that's what settled it before trial, besides my posturing with opposing counsel.
Right.
He did his opening, and I said, I got an opening too.
There you go.
But my opening was really centered around what she gave me.
Right.
You can't even bring in evidence what's in your opening because of and then Renata came up with
Dead man statute.
The dead man statute. It's hearsay. You can't bring it in. The judge is like, that's true. Next thing you know, we're objecting and we're settling for 60% of the estate,
right,
which is unheard of.
Right.
Now you're objecting to a will, 10, 20, maybe 30%. So that's great. But to get more than 50%, it's not even a 50-50 split. So we got 60%. Then we were off and running. Then it was.
But I do have to say that was the most fun I've ever had.
And then I think
was that your first time working together?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
And then I think
I had been practicing in this area for 10 years at that point.
Right.
And Terence had just come in. And he had the trial experience. So that's how we came together. It was a perfect synergy.
Right.
But I started out my career as an attorney working for the Counsel to the Public Administrator of Kings County, which is appointed by the Kings County Surrogate.
Right.
And that's where I got a lot of my experience. And from there, I'd moved on to an estate planning, elder law, trust and estates firm. Right. So I've been in this area of practice my entire career, 25 years.
Right. I love it. I spent 30 years in the financial advisory industry, and I advised many clients unofficially as to how to prepare wills and trusts. And we'd always have someone that we refer out, and he would charge just low fee because when the client walked in the door, they knew what a will was, knew what trust was, they knew who the trustees were going to be, they knew who the beneficiaries were going to be. It was all done. He just I literally handed a piece of paper saying, here, write the documents, and he would just review with them, and it was very easy. In many cases, they never even met. It was all done by phone.
Right.
I just I email them the information, and it was very easy. I love the topic because it gives you a chance to be creative, and there's so many things, so many benefits to proper planning, as we can talk about. Well, it seems like a natural synergy to actually what we want to talk about today. We want to talk about Medicaid planning and how you can sit there and prepare, because as a house buyer, we were talking before the recording here, before we turn the cameras on. As a house buyer, we meet so many people in some financial distress, many people. And sometimes you have people on Medicaid and they know if they sell the house, they're going to lose their money. And we've worked with clients where we're actually able to have them retain the money, or at least a good part of the money from the sale of the house while being on Medicaid. But you would rather have all the planning done in advance so even more money can be retained. But so let's discuss the kind of things that people should be doing, people should be considering when planning for not the inevitability, but the possibility of Medicaid or of the need for assistance being in their future. That's really where it comes in.
Well, I think the first thing that people should think about is not think about the Medicaid part.
Right.
Okay. A big part of estate planning, and like I said, I started practicing in this area 25 years ago, and the estate taxes were very different.
Yes.
So everybody that I saw,
$600,000.
correct, $650,000.
Yes.
So everybody that I saw came in for estate tax planning.
Right.
As the exemption went up, it became less and less necessary.
Yeah.
So what happened is the middle class stopped thinking about the planning, because when people would plan for estate taxes, we'd also be planning for Medicaid.
Right.
And what happened is, the concern fell off. So a lot of people think about Medicaid planning when they get older,
right.
When they retire and so on. And then, life happens, things happen. I'm too young for this. I'm too young for this.
Yes.
For that.
Yes.
So, the way it should be looked at is estate planning is there for the middle class, for the mass affluent, essentially.
Right.
And the mass affluent are everybody.
Right.
It's not the wealthy, it's not the poor.
Right.
It's everybody in the middle.
Right.
That's who has to start thinking about it.
Right.
People can't start thinking about just the Medicaid planning. You start thinking about the planning, and it's a natural progression from there.
When you say the middle, we're in Long Island, New York. What you work in the city as well as the island, or mainly Long Island? You're
Both.
downstate. Okay, both.
Downstate. Yeah.
What is that range if you were talking? Do you go you're going by assets more than income, or similar, or is it both?
We're going by, I mean, assets, really.
Okay.
If it's just income, there's very little that you can
Correct.
do. But I mean, assets, look, most people have a house or an apartment.
Yep.
Most people have a little bit of savings.
Yep.
Right there, you have to start thinking about that because
Okay.
Medicaid is not just about going to a nursing home. Medicaid planning is about having your money and using your money to be able to bridge you comfortably to the end of your life.
Yep.
Yeah, so the range, it's if you're in New York and you own a real property and you have some retirement savings or even taxable savings, you're in the range of $1 to $5 million.
Correct. $1 million is like this when you count your house.
Right.
Yeah.
But once you put the house in there, you're pretty much maybe you're close to 1.5, 2.
Right.
But a lot of people are in that 1 to 5 range and they don't realize it.
The days of being a millionaire meaning something are long gone. At least here, anyway.
And you're not going to go to a white shoe firm,
Right,
and just pay those exorbitant fees.
Yeah.
But you're also not going to go to LegalZoom,
right,
right?
Yeah.
And for download a few $100s for your planning.
Yeah.
There's more sophistication required by that. But once you start, I think, putting yourself in the category that Renata said as the mass affluent, the middle class,
right,
the first class, right? Then now I'm not a LegalZoom person, but I don't want to pay those exorbitant white shoe law firm fees. Yeah. And then I find that it's not just I'm going to an elder lawyer. Right. I'm not doing Medicaid planning. This is wealth planning.
Life planning.
It's life planning.
That's a much nicer word. I like that better.
Right. Yeah. Because a lot of people say, well, I don't. I worked all my life. I don't want to be on Medicaid. That's for X, Y, and Z. As opposed to people used to look at, you went through bankruptcy. Now, you get Trump saying that bankruptcy is a tool of the wealthy. So all of a sudden it's like, now it's a tool, right? And as middle class is the 80%.
Yeah.
Right. And there's a lot more people who need those types of services than, like Renata said, people who have a taxable estate now. I mean, if you have more than 7 million, how many people in New York have more than 7 million?
Not very many.
Right.
Yes.
And if you're married, you're talking about 14 million. So
that's right.
Realistically, many people don't need that type of planning any longer.
We saw a huge fall off in our clients that came in for planning once they raised to $1 million, and then they went from there. Changed. They made it because it was $2 million if it's $1 million per person, and that was decades ago, and that was more money then than it is today. So
now you're the part of the mass affluent. You're worth between 1 and 5 million, but all of a sudden a tragic event happens, or is it tragic? Is it unforeseen? What's the statistic? 70% of all of us will need long-term care at some point in our retirement. Right. 70%. So, I mean, it's sometimes worse than going to the casino, right? So if you think that you're going to be part of 30% who win,
right,
that's really not proper planning.
No, it's not.
Right? So what do? What is the danger? The danger is if you need long-term care, the exorbitant cost of it in 2025 is not what it was in 1995.
No.
Okay, a long-term care insurance policy that would cover $200 or $300 per day it's a shortfall. You still got the average care can range from anywhere from $200 per day to $1,500 per day, depending upon the frequency and level of care you need.
Many of the insurance companies are no longer insuring, or our clients are getting letters saying your premiums are going up, and they're completely exorbitant. Mine's
double. We're paying $8,000 a person, between my wife and me, paying $16,000 a year for our long-term care insurance premiums. We started at $4,000.
And then what's your daily?
Right. Well, now it's about $600. We had a compound inflation.
So you had to comp?
Right. I bought it when I was 45. I bought it 22 years ago. So she was 42, 43. And so it was affordable then. It's no longer affordable. You can't even buy those policies anymore.
But they don't really exist anymore.
No, the number of players in the market, there were many. They fell out one after another, and now they do the combination policies.
The riders, chronic care rider.
I think those are the Swiss Army knife of policies. So Swiss Army knife can do a lot of things, but none of them well.
Right.
That's how I describe it.
We do many jobs. You're doing all of them poorly.
Right. Correct.
So I think that once people realize that, well, what are my 3 options? You can self-insure.
Yep.
Well, it
takes a lot of money.
All that hard work and,
Yep.
and becoming part of the mass affluent,
Yeah.
you're going to lose it all.
Yeah.
You always want to pass it off to your kids, especially now. Everyone's thinking, oh my God, are my kids going to be able to have it better than me?
Correct.
I got to give them a
Oh,
head
yeah.
start.
Yeah.
And it's not a $25,000 gift at their wedding.
Right.
It's,
No,
I
that
got to
doesn't
give
do
you
it.
$300,000 for a down payment. I mean,
That pays for flowers.
it's
Yeah.
right. So then what's the next option? Long-term care insurance. We just went over that.
Yeah.
And the third option is
Medicaid planning.
Yeah.
So, but what I find is a lot of people do not start doing it early enough because their reasoning is, I'm never going to go into a nursing home.
Right.
That's what a lot of people say. A lot of people think that I'm never going to go into a nursing home.
Yeah.
Well, that's not the issue.
Right.
Because you're going to end up in a nursing home if you spend all your money on
Right.
care at home.
Right.
And then you have no more money. So what happens, especially now in New York, is that you can qualify for Medicaid. Let's say you qualified for Medicaid, okay? Because you've spent all your money down. And you need 24-hour care. And you're assessed at 6 to 8 hours a day. And you need more. Your children are working. They're not able to do that with you. So what do you do if it's not safe enough to be at home on your own? Then you're going to a nursing home.
Yep.
So, what I tell a lot of my clients is the most important reason to do this is if you have liquid cash, investments, whatever it may be, other than your real estate, is you create these trusts, these Medicaid Asset Protection Trusts. You put the assets into the trust so that those assets, if you do not get enough hours from Medicaid, they can bridge you a lot longer.
Yep.
And that's one of the main reasons why people shouldn't think that the reason to do this planning is because they're worried about paying for a nursing home.
Right. There's much more to it than that.
Right.
Yep.
That's a little bit of self-insuring there.
right.
Yep, it is. Your comment, and my mother would say, never put me in a nursing home, never put me in a nursing home. That's the common attitude. I want to make one comment on that, which is not a planning comment, but it's a social commentary. My mother said that. My mother born in the 1930s. I can say that now because she's gone. My mother born in the 1930s. Her mother was born in the late 1800s.
Right.
So when my grandmother went to a nursing home, which she did, it was a very different nursing home than with the nursing homes that are available today. And so just saying I'm not going to go to a nursing home, it's because you have the wrong idea. Today, there are some, especially if you go to independent living or assisted living and not full-blown nursing, they're wonderful, in many cases, wonderful places, but people still say they're not going to go. But putting that's just sort of my commentary about what options there are available to people from a care perspective. Please don't rule out things out there because of your preconceived ideas.
Right.
Right,
But
Some of those assisted living facilities are great happy hours.
oh my gosh.
I mean, I would choose to be in them.
Oh, they're country clubs for senior citizens at walkers. Yeah, that's what they are.
Yes.
Yep. And my father-in-law, my in-laws live in one. He has his red scooter. People are jealous of his red scooter. I just want to paint some flames on the side and stuff. So he goes 2 miles an hour down the hall. It looks faster. But yeah, no, they have a great time. Activity, social life. So, but anyway, putting that aside.
Yeah, to your point though, don't just have one outlook.
Right.
It's, even with Medicaid planning.
Yeah.
Well, we may want to put you in a position if you need it.
Right.
Specifically if it comes down to the dire need where you need to go to a nursing home. But sometimes it's if you have income, $10,000 a month, $12,000 a month, you're a retired teacher, TRS, or any of the FDNY guys, or
minimum distributions coming in.
Suffolk County, you're making some pretty good income, fixed income.
Yeah, can't hide that.
And you're probably paying estimated taxes.
Yeah.
I'd imagine. Yeah. Right. So all of a sudden you need home care and whatnot. And you're saying, okay, well, there's two prongs of eligibility. Medicaid assets.
Yeah.
You can't have any more than 30,000 in your name. But income wise for home care, the first $1,800 per month is yours to keep to do what you please. But then if you have excess, so if you're at 10,000, let's just say you're 8,000 over, 8,200, that's a lot of money, right?
Yep.
But you're paying estimated taxes. So all of a sudden, if you start paying privately for home care, which is not going to be $8,000 a month, let's say it's $5,000 a month or whatever it may be. Well, once you're above 7.5% of your AGI, adjusted gross income, then that's a medical deduction.
Yep.
Right. So instead of paying Uncle Sam the taxes, you're paying privately for the age that you want and when you want it, and you're not going through the Medicaid process, but you still have that planning.
Yep.
But within that planning, you're learning about this tax deduction when you're coming to us, right? Because we're taking a comprehensive approach to things. We're not just going to come out there and say, we're elder lawyers, we're estate planning attorneys. You got to do the trust is, you got to do this, that, and the other thing. We're putting things in place depending upon the circumstances at on the ground at the time, we may apply this, we may apply that, or a combination, or like Renata said before, it's a bridge to something else.
Yeah.
So I think with us, the elder lawyers, when people say, well, what do you do for a living? Oh, we're elder lawyers. Oh, you're elder lawyers. So like, what does that mean? That's for the poor people, like people get on Medicaid and no. So then we started thinking like, no, we're estate planning and Medicaid planning attorneys, or estate planning and elder law attorneys, or no, we represent the mass affluent, right?
Because everybody needs this planning.
Yeah, that's what you're saying. Everybody needs the planning,
and then
except maybe the 10% at the bottom.
Right.
There's not they're not going to pay for it anyway.
Correct.
Right.
And then what happens is then they're coming and they're understanding the approach.
Yeah.
Where I want the trust, I want the trust, I want this, I want that. I want it to implement the Medicaid now. Or maybe you do it this way, right? Here's a tax deduction for you. If you're coming in because, you're going to a law firm that represents the mass affluent, well then the mass affluent, like Trump does or whoever, when they did bankruptcy, they're wealthy, but they used everything under the law at their disposal, even though it had this bad, image to it. Now it doesn't have a bad image to it.
Yeah.
Right. And then we help more people. Because, right, to your point, if someone says, oh, I'm not going to a nursing home, but if they found out that the nursing home is serving the Gronies and, five-star chicken, and all that stuff, they got a chef, I'll sign me up for that. And I can have a family day. The kids can come and there's a pool there. Now, yeah, sure, that's assisted living.
Right.
But maybe the assisted living monthly payment is a tax deduction worth having. Maybe the house that you're in, right, that needs to be sold because hasn't been renovated since the 70s. It's not really accessible for you and during your disability needs.
That's a huge problem. We get a lot of calls. They can't make it up the stairs anymore. Yep, that's a big issue. Yep.
And mom and dad don't want to leave because this is going to be the legacy for their kids. Their kids are out of state. Next thing you know, everybody is presented with a different outlook.
Right.
And then, okay.
That's funny. Legacy for the kids. I want the house for my kids. The kids don't want the house. Right? How often does that happen? No, but they have to have it. They don't want it. But you're torturing yourself staying in a house with stairs because you want the kids to have it or don't want it. There's a real disconnect between reality and what they want.
It's all in perspective.
Absolutely. Yeah.
May have worked with you and your husband or you and your wife living there, and the kids, but now you think that the kids and their family are going to live with each other. So your son and your daughter and their families are going to live together in this house. Right. So you got to kind of present the picture for them.
Yeah.
Okay. Then what? Then I don't want to leave. Right. Okay. Well, then it's going to, if you don't prevent the fall with the senior.
Right.
That's, in my opinion, that's the trigger. Right.
Oh, absolutely. The broken hip is at the beginning of the death knoll, the death spiral.
Because I know me now. If I injure myself, I just can't recover as fast, right? So imagine you're a senior, you fall, you're admitted to the hospital for a broken femur, and then you go to rehab, and then you're in there for 2.5 months, maybe 3 months if you have the 100 days. You come home,
an hour a day of rehab, and the 23 hours a day of nothing,
and all of a sudden 3 months ago, I don't understand. My father was driving. And we didn't have to worry. He was paying the bills, and now it's like he can't do anything.
Yeah.
Well, you'd be sedentary for 3 months. You have that loss of blood flow, and then you're just sitting there. You're not doing anything. You'd be surprised. That's kind of what sometimes they do that as a form of torture, overseas. They do. I mean, that's how you break people down. Right. So don't be surprised. So all these things come in, I think for Renata and I, not only have we experienced it with thousands of clients, but we've experienced it personally. My parents and subsequently a little short period of time with her father, but so we can kind of advise on this.
Right.
We could also advise as to, the feelings, the chaos of when a parent becomes ill and worrying about doing the planning at that time.
Right.
You want to have it set up where if something like that happens, you can concentrate on your parents as the children.
Absolutely.
And I think a lot of times, the children wait for the parents to make the move. And that's a mistake because look, we all know as you get older, you want to do less. A lot of people want to do less and less. I've done this. I've worked hard all my life. I just want to kind of coast.
Right.
And it's up to the kids to essentially find the information, to show the parents the information and to make it more comfortable and easier for the parents to actually do it. A lot of people worry about, is it an irrevocable trust?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Is the planning involved in irrevocable trust? I'm losing control.
Yeah.
Okay. So we don't call it an irrevocable trust. It's in this process, it's a Medicaid Asset Protection Trust because it's not irrevocable. Mm-hmm. Under the law, under the statute, an irrevocable trust can be revoked if everybody that's beneficially interested in the trust, essentially
agrees,
the people who create it and the people who are inheriting.
Right.
If they choose to revoke it, if they all consent, they can revoke it.
Right.
So it's not that bad.
Right.
In addition to that, what if
I've never said, I know that to be true, but I've never actually said that to people, which makes some,
it's a contract.
It takes the pressure off the parent. I'm giving up my assets permanently. They don't like that. But you're saying, well, if you trust your son and daughter to begin with, then they'll say, okay, you can give it up. You can reverse it. So,
hi, I'm Larry. And I'm Ben. We're the father and son team of Leave the Key Home Buyers, and we want to buy your house.
We specialize in working with seniors who are transitioning out of their homes, and we understand what you were going through.
So if you're considering selling your home and would like an alternative to the traditional overwhelming process, reach out and see how we can help.
Do you have an outdated home?
No need to update anything.
Have a home that needs repairs?
Don't bother with repairs.
Don't want to take everything with you?
Leave whatever you want behind.
Dreading the headaches that come with agents?
Sell your home without paying a commission.
Dreading prying neighbors, attending open houses and passing judgment on your home?
No need for public showings.
When you sell to us, you'll have all the certainty of closing on your timeline, not someone else's, and there's absolutely no pressure.
Visit leavethekey.com or call us today for a no-obligation offer at 631-388-7771 if you want to sell your home today.
Well, another little trick there is nowadays the trustee can be changed.
Yes.
And
that's true.
the beneficiaries can be changed. So let's say you have three kids, A, B, and C.
Yeah.
Okay. And mom and dad want to revoke the trust, but C says no.
Yeah.
Well, we
C's
can
out.
take C out and then A and B and mom and dad can revoke the trust.
Right. Yeah.
So really, what's the downside of that?
That's a very compelling point of view. Absolutely compelling point of view. Yeah.
And, another thing, I see a lot of clients, they come in and, they have the house and everybody's prepared to transfer the house because it's easy.
Yeah.
But then you have your liquid assets, okay?
Yeah.
So let's give an example. You have $300,000 in the bank and you have about $400,000 in investment, stocks, bonds, mutual funds, or whatnot. So, people come in, oh, sure, we'll transfer the house, but we're going to leave the $700,000, in my name. So... Okay, you could do that, but then you're going to have to spend that down.
Right.
Ultimately, you'll wait 5 years anyway, and you'll do that. Well, what have you been using the money in your investment account? When was the last time you used it?
Right. Oh, no, it's for the future. I love that. It's for the future.
No, never. I never use it.
Yeah.
Well, do you take the dividends from it? No, they're reinvested.
Right.
So what would change if you just put it in the trust?
Right.
And then all of a sudden, they think about it. They're like, I think you're right.
Right.
You still have the $300,000 that you can play with if you want to.
Right.
And that's another way to look at it. People think that it's all or nothing, and it's not all or nothing.
Right.
You're doing this just like when you're doing estate tax planning. You're doing this to save money. It's not or to save assets, not necessarily to save every penny. So you do not have to transfer every penny when you're doing the planning.
Right. When I sold long-term care insurance, it was never cheap, but it was affordable.
Right.
I tell clients, let's see how much you can afford to spend on your own care, then let's buy insurance to cover the shortfall.
Right.
You don't have to buy, back then it was $300 a day for a nursing home. You don't have to buy $300 a day policy. Let's buy a $175 a day policy. And that's sort of what you're saying. You choose your exposure. You choose to leave the $300,000 vulnerable, but that's your choice. You don't have to, but you're welcome to. So the same concept, and that makes a lot of sense. And the cash is usually the hardest part to probably part with.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is fine.
Yeah.
Use it for yourself.
Yeah.
But at least you've protected your other assets and you've given yourself a bridge if you need more care.
Right. and protect the inheritance that you work so hard for, that you want to go to the kids.
Absolutely.
And that's key. That's key. They always, my clients are retired educators. They all, a lot of very, very high concentration of Jewish educators back, in the 50s and 60s
Right.
and so on, retired in the 80s and 90s. And overwhelmingly, the money's for the kids. I say the money's for you. Here's what concept I tell people. A inheritance is a consolation prize. I'm sorry, mom and dad are gone, but they left you this parting gift.
Yes.
I said it's not an obligation, right? It's not an obligation. It's a compensation. You lose mom and dad, but at least you have some cash. It's not exactly equal compensation, but it's not a requirement. And people think they have to leave money. You don't have to. But you don't want to leave nothing. It means you lived until you had no money. You don't want that
Especially if
either.
you're going to put your kids in hock, right? So in other words, if you're not spending money on yourself because you don't want to take care of yourself or make yourself, more safe or comfortable in your home or whatever the situation is, the next thing you know, that inevitably results in a medical event.
Yes.
Well, and then all of a sudden, I think this is a big part of the sandwich generation, right? All of a sudden, you have mid 40s or 40 or mid 30-year-old kids who are parents now, with young kids, but also taking care of older parents,
Right.
right? And the money can solve pretty much 99% of all
It
problems.
really does.
Right?
Other than the health problems.
Other than the health
They
problems,
can't fix that. But you can make them less
but
worse.
it can make them less worse.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Let's balance living with planning here.
Yeah.
But if you really want to benefit your children, should we let them wait until they're 67 or 70 to inherit $1 million?
Right.
Right? Or when they're 35 or 45, spend some money on yourself so they don't have to worry about you so much.
Right.
And then maybe give them a little help.
Right.
Right, getting off the ground, because it's a little harder these days.
Yeah.
Because look, the pricing of the cost of living in the Northeast is skyrocketed, right? So, and then all of a sudden, by the time they inherit it at 67, either they don't longer need it,
Right.
or they actually would have been better off getting 200 grand much earlier on,
Right.
and that $1 million benefit at 67. Maybe that's for them. They've already would have outshined that and made $2 million for themselves. There's always, you always got to look at it from different perspectives. But I think it's easier for us to say this to clients,
Right.
Because we have credibility, right? I can say I do this for a living.
Yep.
And I also can say I went
lived
through
it.
this personally.
Right.
We certainly had help, from Renata's parents, and much lesser extent from my parents, right? They're not saying, this is for you.
Right.
When you're 70.
Right. Yeah. I've been doing a lot of reading and watching and learning about Social Security, claiming Social Security. My wife's turning 65, matter of fact, this weekend, and I'm 67. And I'm going to wait till 70. She's going to wait till 70. But as I'm doing research, I realized that the formulas are wrong. The break-even's 81 is what they talk about, but not if you factor in the use of money. Correct. I don't want to get too complicated here. In terms of the break-even is infinite. There's really no break-even. I should really collect earlier. And so I'm watching all these videos. I'm not going to, because money is a financial product and a psychological product.
Right.
It's both. And I always say, if you have the money to afford you to make psychological decisions, comforting decisions, that's what you do. If you don't have the money, you have to make the financial decision.
Right.
So I know my wife would feel more comfortable having a bigger income when she's 70, even though we'll never break even. Even though we'll have less money to leave to the children, we're leaving them plenty anyway, we'll have less money over our lifetimes from Social Security as a result. But it'll make her feel better seeing the big check come in the door. But they said something else, which I had never considered, and you touched upon it. That money, they talk about the present value of money, which is a math formula, but the present value of money as a quality of life formula.
Correct.
$200,000 at 45 versus $1 million at 95. What am I doing with $1 million at 95? Nothing. Right? I'm not going to sit in the store and start traveling. But if I had that, I could pay off my mortgage. I could live better. I could put my kids through college without burning myself. So money has value at different stages in your life, which is what you're going on. And I never really considered that. Because I don't know how to have fun. I'm just a worker, so it doesn't have any value to me whatsoever. But putting that aside, no one should live that way. But it's a very important part is that people are not so quick to give. They want to leave an inheritance, and if I give today, I won't have inheritance to give later. And that's a really important point. Yeah.
And you have good I always tell people your retirement is not about your nest egg.
Right.
It's about your cash flow.
Correct.
And if you can maintain your cash flow,
Yeah.
But at the same time give away some of the nest egg.
Yep.
Right. So if you have fixed income, it's not going away. Your nest egg though, it could grow. But if it's better deployed for your family,
Yep.
right, at other points in time, or even for you,
Yep.
right, even deploying it on yourself to undo the burden that is on your kids, right, who want to care or worried about you, there is a mathematical formula. I haven't figured it out, but I know there's a benefit.
Right.
Right.
I actually had that conversation with somebody the other day, and I'm speaking to this person, and she says to me, well, this is expensive and that is expensive with regard to medication and insurance and so on and so forth. I want to leave it for my kids.
Right.
So I'm not going to spend this much money privately on this medication or whatnot. And I said to the woman, I said, well, really helping your kids would be if you fall and break, it's harder for you to break your bones. And then they have to take care of you.
Right.
Spend the money.
It's for their benefit.
Right.
Spend the money for osteoporosis.
Right. It's crazy, but it's. I don't think my generation, or surely the younger generation is going to think that way. But my parents' generation surely thought that way. I think every generation is a little more me-centric. So you may see as you continue in this career, you may find the attitude shifting, but that's it may not be a bad thing. It may not be, so maybe more pragmatic in the
maybe somewhere in the middle.
Somewhere
The
in the
younger
middle.
generation is worried about now too much and not later.
I'll call myself in the middle.
Right. I think you have to meet somewhere.
I'll call myself
balance
in the middle.
those both generations Me Too approach to things.
Yeah.
Right. And then make it so that, you're actually benefiting me
Right.
by me helping you.
Correct.
Right. Mom and dad saying, this is actually benefiting me by me helping my son or daughter. And then the son and daughter are like, yes, okay, you're finally seeing it's, something about me as opposed to, but if you make it mutually beneficial.
Right.
Well, it's a win-win.
It's a win-win. But let's talk about some scenarios where what you do, any clients come to mind that you may have helped in the recent time or whatever, that we can sort of use as an illustration. Sure. The kind of planning you've done?
Yeah, you go first because I can't think of anything right this moment.
Well, so I think a lot of clients come in, look, a lot of kids grew up and then they moved out of state, right, for financial reasons. Just the world is a lot smaller now. You can make money outside of New York.
Yep.
Okay, especially COVID. I think that really accelerated. You don't have to be on Wall Street.
Right.
To be on Wall Street. Yeah. Right. So, but mom and dad are in like these beautiful homes in Long Island or they're Manhattan. They still have the co-op that they want to have walkability. It's wonderful. It's beautiful. Right. So, but then all this, or in Westchester or something along those lines. But then all of a sudden, mom and dad, who seemed like they were going to live forever, suddenly dad is 83, he's perfect, he's fine. Right. He's going to live forever. Even though he said, well, he's lived past his life expectancy.
That's right.
Right? And mom has suddenly developed Parkinson's and dementia. What do we do? Well, what's the house like? Right? Let's think about this for a second. The house is it accessible? Do we have to climb up a bunch of stairs just to get in the front door?
Right.
And then where's the bedroom at? Oh, it's on the second floor with this beautiful
Well, the only bathroom's upstairs.
Well, the only bathroom's upstairs, right? Well, we got to do the trust. I said, the trust is kind of part of this, but I need to know, have you fully discussed this with the medical professionals, providers? Do we have a situation where mom, with this diagnosis, is going to be needing a higher level of care in a facility within the next 5 years, right? Because we could transfer it to a trust all day long, but if she needs to go into a nursing home, we didn't make the 5 year.
Right.
It's going to be a penalized transfer because we transfer something within the 5 years, right? So for nursing home Medicaid eligibility, for everybody out there, it's typically 5 years ago, or you have to transfer assets out of your name and then run the clock for 5 years before those assets are considered not countable towards your Medicaid eligibility.
Aren't they prorated during those 5 years? Or only...
we can get there, but I mean...
They're not really prorated. It really depends on when you put in an application.
Okay. Yeah.
So the 5 years really... is a look back period. When you put in
Right.
the application, if you've made any transfer of assets, uncompensated transfer of assets,
Right.
you have to disclose them in the Medicaid application.
Right.
And depending on what that number is, there's a penalty per month.
Right.
Let's say it's
Correct.
100,000, so you get a 7-month penalty or
Right,
so on.
right.
But you actually have to put in the application. The 5-year look back just talks about setting up the trust, transferring your assets, and applying 5 years later, so you don't have to legally disclose the asset
The transfer,
Right.
right.
Okay. Right. Absolutely.
So now we're sitting there and she said, well, we want to keep, dad's there. We're going to be able to keep mom
Right.
home,
Right.
Safely at home. I said, well, so I understand dad is an 83-year-old
Right.
who's walking around like
Taking
35.
care of a mom with dementia.
But when you're a caretaker,
Yep.
okay, there's that really puts a strain on you. And then one simple fall, and the next thing you know, you got 2 people.
Yep.
And then, so is the trust the right way to go now? Well, I think the first thing is we need to talk to the doctors, the medical professionals, ask them with mom's prognosis, unless they can, without a doubt, fully guarantee, oh, no, she's not going to need nursing home in the next 5 years. But if they start doing like old doctors and lawyers, it depends at this and that, right? Some people, it depends on the circumstances. Well, then right away, you got a plan that she's going to need it. So maybe we utilize an exempt transfer, right? That does not apply to the 5-year look back period. What transfers it between spouses? So maybe we transfer the assets to dad.
Right.
Right. And then dad sits there, and then we see how mom's situation progresses. It's a fluid situation. And if you can get something, because this is a new diagnosis, if you could stabilize it,
Right.
Maybe the doctors can say, I can't tell you what it's going to be like for another year and a half. Okay, so maybe we just do the transfer to dad now, or wait until if something happens. But yes, we still got to worry about dad. So maybe we do the planning for dad, but maybe we have the transfers to dad first, and then we have it ready to go. And then if it stabilizes, then dad can transfer to the trust. So you got to look at, I think, the medical situation realistically,
Yep.
then apply it to what a Medicaid Asset Trust can do for you.
Mm-hmm.
Then the look back period, right? And then parse it that way. Or maybe it's time to sell this house, right? Let's be realistic. And then, we could do something along the lines of, whatever you could potentially get for it, right? Maybe we can devalue it in some form or fashion because, you have this situation, but you're okay with the devaluing because, you're not going to wait for the best offer to come in. And then you put it through a network where people are saying, we need to sell this house. And then we're going to put money into a trust, and then we're going to deal with it from there. Maybe we want to just put it all into dad's name and go from there. And then you go, so if you're selling a house for a little bit less than its value, or maybe 20, 30% less than its value, does it really matter if you're really going to lose that anyway?
Right.
And then the next thing is, now you have this money, and now I always tell seniors, realistically, if you're going to go buy another home, when you buy a home, you get a 30-year mortgage.
Right.
Are you really going to be here for the next 30 years? Or maybe it's better to rent, right? And the
I
money
say that all the time.
and the money that you invest in the market can generate enough income to pay for the rent.
Right.
And then, but all this money's in dad's name. So if mom does need a nursing home, okay, well, she's eligible.
Right.
Right. And then maybe dad can then deal with it in a revocable trust or do his own planning. Because if he's 83 or 85 at this point, or 86, and he's not presenting with nursing home, a condition that would warrant nursing home stay in the future, we pretty much could probably keep him at home, either through home care Medicaid application or just pay privately.
Right.
I've seen kids try with parents that do not want to start the planning, and they're waiting and waiting and waiting. And, they get to a point where mom or dad has dementia and they can no longer do it. And you have to deal with applying for a guardianship and so on. So the most important thing I tell my clients is think about a power of attorney. If the parents are worried about planning or are not ready to do it, the most important document to have is a good power of attorney that gives the powers to transfer assets, gives the power to make gifts. I'll give you an example, and this is even for young people.
That's very good advice, but go ahead.
I had a woman come into my office, and we had done power of attorney for her and her husband, basic wills, powers of attorney, healthcare proxies. But the power of attorney is one that incorporates gift giving, having the ability to create trusts and move assets around that are more than the gift tax amount that's allowed per
Right.
year. Okay, a 40-year-old couple, they have an 8-year-old daughter. The wife comes in, says husband was on his way to work, had a massive heart attack. Okay, extremely affected his mental capability and his physical capability. He's in the hospital. He goes to rehab. He's not ready to come home. She can't take care of him. She's crying in my office saying, what do? I have this 8-year-old daughter that I'm taking care of. I have to work. We have these assets. I can't pay this amount. He has to go into a nursing home. I can't pay this amount. I can't bring him home because my daughter's just, it's not going to work for my daughter. It's going to be terrible for her. So, because we had the power of attorney, we were able to transfer the assets to the wife, and she was able, via power of attorney, to apply for Medicaid for the husband to give him the benefits to stay in the nursing home until he was able to come home. If she didn't have that power of attorney,
Right.
the only option she would have had is to apply to become his guardian,
Right.
and then ask the court to allow those transfers. I mean, that could take 6 months to a
Yes,
year
nightmare.
at least.
Yeah.
And can you imagine the stress and the pressure that she's under to do that?
yeah.
So that's what I tell everybody who I speak to. If you're not ready for the Medicaid planning and the trust, at least power of attorney.
A question for you on power of attorney. This, I'm not sure on. I was always told, but I'm also then told I'm incorrect, that you cannot use your power. Let's say I'm my father's power of attorney, that I cannot sit there and write a check to myself for my benefit. You can't use your power of attorney for your own benefit as the agent. Is that correct or not correct?
It's not necessarily correct. It depends on the powers that the document gives.
If the document gives me full financial, the bottom, they check all the above, right? But I just told that, yes, you can make financial decisions, but you can't make financial decisions that benefit you as the agent.
So the form power of attorney
Right.
allows for modifications.
Right.
And those modifications have to specifically address that.
Okay.
So the modifications have to allow gift giving
Right.
more than the $18,000 you get
Right.
per year, as it
Right.
grows with inflation. It has to allow gift giving to the agent, him or
Okay.
herself, to the children, to whomever. It has to be very specific. It has to allow
Okay.
the creation of a trust.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there are various things that the
Okay.
power of attorney has to say, but it has to be modified
Okay.
by the drafter.
Okay. Fair enough.
So So for us, the term of art that practitioners have been using for 10, 15 years is you need an elder law power of attorney.
Right.
So we say that, look, essential planning. We're
Right.
going to recommend essential planning to everyone. Essential planning is your will, your power of attorney, your healthcare proxy.
Yep.
And they all go hand in hand.
Yep.
So a lot of people say, well, no, the healthcare proxy and the power of attorney expires upon your death, and only the will can take effect after you die. Well, to your point, what you both were discussing, how the power of attorney and the will go hand in hand, especially with an elder law power of attorney or a mass affluent power of attorney.
Right.
Okay. I have been, my mom and dad have been giving me gifts for years. The annual exclusion, I think it's $19,000 per individual this year, right? And now I have this durable power of attorney that became effective, but I don't want to look like, I'm self-dealing or anything along those lines. Well, and again, this is where I think a lot of my estate litigation came into effect. A power of attorney just used to write yourself a check.
Right.
Even if it has gift-giving power in it,
Right.
but if it's contrary to a person's testamentary plan, i.e., what their will says, who
Okay.
the beneficiaries are, well, it can be reversed. Right?
Okay.
Matter of Farrar's Court of Appeals case, New York. And our powers of attorney says, yeah, we'll give you the gift-giving power. Mom and dad, you want
Right.
this to be enabled to your agent, your children, or whomever. But it says only in accordance with my estate plan.
Oh, that's interesting.
Right.
Okay.
So we go to the will, and if the will says, oh, I want to give X, Y, and Z to my kids, but let's say it also wants to give to charity,
Right.
or wants to give to a niece or nephew or whatever it may be.
Right.
Or if, let's say, you don't have kids,
Right.
right? This is niece and nephew. All of a sudden, when we're looking at it, and especially for Medicaid planning, because it's a transfer, it's an incomplete gift to a trust, but it is a transfer, and it allows for, that trust that we're setting up. Well, who are we setting it up for? No, we just go to the will,
Right.
mirroring the terms of the person's will. We're giving this gift via the power of attorney in accordance with your estate plan. So it's part of essential planning, right? So it's not just let's go and get a power of attorney, right? If you want it to be able to use for that. It's essential, though, what Renata said. I mean, the most important document to have while you're alive
Right.
is a power of attorney, but not just anyone.
Right. And
Not
that's
the one off of
nuanced
the
too.
Zoom.
Right. And that's nuance too. I'd never heard that part. That's why I'm hearing conflicting information. Because what I'm saying is correct. But if you do it properly, you can overrule that. And the idea also that has to coordinate with your will, that kind of makes sense. That suddenly I'm not giving to this third person who my father never knew, and well, my girlfriend and my wife doesn't know about, kind of thing. You know, so not true, honey.
Yeah,
Not
it works
true,
for
honey.
Medicaid planning.
Right.
Does not work for estate litigation sometimes,
Or estate tax
right.
plan.
or estate tax planning, right?
Right.
So I think that's where our experience, and Renata can do high end estate tax planning, high
Right.
estate planning, Medicaid planning. I can do that, not as well as she does, but I have the estate litigation experience. So that's what makes, I think, for me, particularly, what makes me a good planner.
Right.
Is I've seen all the mistakes. I've litigated against them.
But
Right, and I've gone up against, say, the Department of Social Services, right, the Human Resources Administration, and the Medicaid Fair Hearing, where they deny services or don't give enough hours, or there's a nursing home issue. I've gone up against a tax man, right, with the IRS in New York State. I've also gone up against opposing counsel or somebody who's taken assets during the person's lifetime that are contrary to the person's estate plan, right? We got to bring them back into the estate, right? So that's, I think, for Renata and I, we can say with a straight face, we have over almost 50 years of combined experience in this area of law. And we also just so happen to be married. So it's like, we don't just leave the office.
Right.
Okay, we'll see you tomorrow.
Right.
Date night is talking about this. So it's a good thing we like it.
The good thing, like before we turned the cameras on, we were talking about something dealing with Medicaid, and I was commenting how the two of you just feed off each other. How we can try this, but we can't try this, and you just the dynamic between the two of you was so different than asking this question of one attorney. It was you're getting, I don't want to say two for the price of one, but sort of speak, getting two brains for the price of one. And it really, I was very impressed with the way we're going through the process and the dialogue took place. So yes, I agree with everything you're saying, and like you said, the work comes home with you, so to speak. But with that said, so if someone's listening now and they've done nothing so far, and they fall into that mass affluent category, they're a typical person of typical wealth today. I don't want to use the word wealth. Typical means and assets. I don't want to use the word wealth. Wealth scares people.
Right.
I'm not wealthy. What's the first thing they should be doing right now? Today, they finished listening to this. What should they be doing? They've done nothing so far.
Go on our website and read our ebooks.
Perfect. We'll get to that in a moment. I was going to say that a little bit later, but you took. So
You asked me for the first thing.
I asked first thing. So I said to you, the question I'm going to ask is, if there's one takeaway, what should somebody take away from this podcast? Besides get on your website and call you right away. What's the one big, overwhelming thought that we want to sort of reiterate here?
You want to do?
Well, for me, it's what you're going through is not abnormal. It's actually is normal now. Like I think when I speak to clients now, especially the kids, I go, look, I'm advising you to do this one step now,
right?
Because when we go to the next step, right, instead of you drowning in a cup of water, which you will be,
right,
and this is extremely stressful. All of a sudden, I say, yes, this is extremely stressful. And, it's not, I understand that, this is your perceived obligation as a child to step up for your parents. But it is also really difficult. Okay. People are living longer now. Yeah. This new term, the sandwich generation, didn't come about, for a reason, out of nowhere. Mm. So the takeaway is, it is essential planning. Yeah, it's as essential as getting property and casualty insurance on your house.
Yep,
and it actually is insurance.
It really is
the same thing as getting car insurance. You hope that it never happens, but you need it.
That's what I tell it. People say about when I was selling long-term care insurance. If I never use it, I'll be upset. I said, were you upset you didn't get into a car accident this year?
Right.
I said, of course not. Well, it's the same
Yes.
thing. You're upset you didn't go to a nursing home?
Yes.
Of course you're not upset about that.
Your
But I
house
say,
is shit.
spend all this money. But you've been spending all this money on car insurance. The difference is car insurance has been mandated forever, where long-term care hasn't been.
Right.
So long-term care is optional. If it was mandated, we would think differently about it. I was going to say, my takeaway would be that this applies to so many people. It's not just for the affluent. That's why I don't use the word affluent. It's for the masses. Most everybody needs this kind of planning. And that's something my brain didn't even wrap itself around until you mentioned that. And it's so true.
Yeah, the mass people of means.
Yeah.
And another thing not to forget is that it's never too late to plan. You can always do something.
Three excellent takeaways. So with that said, one of you, how do they get in contact with you? So
Go ahead. You're better at selling.
you're better at selling. Well, after he does, he's one. I said,
I'm joking.
He's the voice. He's the one on court. He's got to be good at selling.
Well,
He's got to sell a jury.
We're Landskind and Ricaforte Law Group. We are a husband and wife partnership, which it does work.
It does
I know
work.
people always say, "How can you work with your wife?"
It does work.
I think
I'm
we
telling
enjoy
you.
it.
I watched the dynamic now for an hour and a half.
Yeah, we were also like ships in the passing the night sometimes. But our website is www.ricafortelaw.com, even though it's a short L&R law for us. We do have ebooks and we do have videos, and now we're doing podcasts.
And we have a lot of information on
that's
our
good.
website.
Yeah,
a lot of
that's good.
articles, a lot of questions and answers.
It's a place
Pretty
to go
much,
learn.
Yes, absolutely.
And we serve the New York City area, Long Island, Suffolk, Westchester. And now in this day and age, most of our meetings, the first ones are either on Zoom or our telephone conference. And then because the law is not caught up to the DocuSign for a whole host of reasons, typically we're meeting with clients a lot of times for the first time in person when we're actually signing the documents, right? But a lot of people say, I don't even see my accountant. I haven't seen my accountant in years. I don't see my financial advisor.
Right.
But I do see, I don't even, I do see you guys.
Right.
And we do want, because there is something to that in person. You get more under the hood, right? And
It's a very
the detail that
personal discussion you're having.
very
here.
personal discussion. And I think an in-person discussion lets the guard down a little bit more.
Yeah.
Which is necessary for us in order to really help you with comprehensively.
Right.
Right. So, but that's how you get in touch with us. Besides 718-333-5007.
There you go. Why don't you repeat that again? 718.
718-333-5007.
Like I said, it was a real pleasure having you guys. It was a very enjoyable conversation. I think full of some information, some action steps, website, and phone call. So, and this applies to all you guys listening, whether it's you guys or your folks. It's never too late. It applies to the vast majority of people. And let's start today. That's it.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much. You take care now.
Bye-bye.
Okay.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Unlocking Senior Resources podcast by Leave the Key. If you've enjoyed this episode or found it helpful, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share this podcast. We specialize in working with seniors who are transitioning out of their homes, and we understand what you're going through. So if you are considering selling your home and would like an alternative to the traditional overwhelming process, reach out to see how we can help. When working with us, you can sell your home in its current condition, there is no need to remove unwanted items, and you control when the house is sold, along with so many other advantages. Visit leavethekey.com or call us at 631-388-7771 to learn more about our senior home buying process.